cartoon and collectible fans. This is Kapow and I am Sonya.
And I'm Al, and here we are again at Kings Comics,
Indeed.
ready for another epic round of reviews and general merrymaking.
General merrymaking. Now, is this a new shirt that we've got on there?
As it happens,
yes.
and yourself?
Absolutely, it is indeed.
Yes, both just arrived today from Totally Irreverent, so thank you for that.
Thanks, guys. Now, on to this week's show.
Yes.
Big show. We are looking at Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe, as well as issue number 1 of Bedlam.
Yes, and of course Ray will be along to look at something I know he's been wanting to have a look at. He'll be along any moment,
yes,
my invisible watch, to look at Towa no Quon.
Indeed. Plus, it is the return of Ask Kapow.
Oh, it's been so long.
Yes. We will also be announcing the winner of the Ask Kapow competition we've been running.
It's a huge show.
It's a huge show.
But you know what, before we get into any of that,
yes,
we need to have a look at the Origin of Skeletor.
We do, yes.
He-Man.
It's a very good Skeletor.
It's alright.
Let's work on that one.
Work in progress.
I don't know about you, but Skeletor has a very special place in my heart. I mean, he was one of my first childhood villains.
Sure.
And he set the bar for maniacal laughter.
Absolutely, and he is up there with Dr. Claw for I'll get you next time speeches.
Yes, he is. And as far as, bad guy image, I mean, come on, skull for a head? That's awesome. But I hear you ask,
do you?
How did he end up with less meat on his face than you'd find at a vegan picnic? It's a very good question.
It is a very good question, and it's one that Joshua Hale Fialkov tries to answer in Origin of Skeletor.
Does he, though?
What do you mean?
Okay, so the first image in this comic is a face, which is the guy that will become Skeletor,
Yeah.
and it's melting.
Yeah.
But why? Is it magic? Is it acid? Was it an unfortunate accident with Pop Rocks and cola? I don't know.
This is true. I mean, I will pay that when it comes right down to it. I mean, when you're looking at the origin of Skeletor, how he became evil is almost less important than how he ended up with that ultra exfoliated look, so that was a bit disappointing that they kind of jumped over that for some reason. But I really enjoyed a lot of the other things in this comic. I think there were a lot of other things I liked. I mean, revelations of his childhood with King Randor. I gave a nice poignancy given how you know where they're going to end up.
Yep.
And this is sort of a Loki and Thor kind of thing.
But that was something that was explored in the Masters of the Universe mini-comics.
Yeah.
The fact that Keldor and Randor were half-brothers. In this comic, I felt like it was all a little bit rushed, and I feel like the writer kind of relied on the fact that you'd have prior knowledge of these characters going in.
Yeah, but who else is going to be reading this? Honestly, I may be wrong, but I would doubt that somebody who's never seen or read any He-Man stories is going to be picking up this comic.
Yeah, okay, I will give you that. But in the, rare occasion that somebody does, there are going to be a lot of unanswered questions. I mean, who the heck is Hordak is just one of them.
Yeah, okay, fair enough, but they will know that Hordak looks awesome.
Well, that's true, they will.
He looks awesome in this. I hope we can at least agree that the artwork is pretty cool.
Yes and no.
Ah, come on.
I know, right? Look, when the art is on, it's really good. Fraser Irving has done some really nice work with some of the compositions. And there is one panel where you've got Keldor kind of tripping down some stairs and shattering at the bottom.
Yeah, that's a really nice image.
It's very evocative and it's kind of, you feel like you're seeing his psyche shatter a little.
Sure, yeah.
Amazing. But when Irving kind of strays out of the colours and into these black and white flashback panels, it all just seems a little bit unfinished.
Okay, look, I can see what you're saying in a couple of circumstances here, yeah. But the fact is, most of these pages, he keeps to these ones that are awash with colour. And colours, again, done by Irving in this one, so he does double duty on this.
There. Yep.
But I mean, he does this amazing work with smoke and with shadows, some great work there. And even with those black and whites, I felt like the simplicity of them, I don't know, they kind of worked towards the haziness of his memory. So they worked more often than not.
I don't know, I tend to disagree with you again on this one. Visually and written storytelling in this, it just seems a little muddy and a little unclear. And even with those beautiful colours and panels, most of them are just kind of a guy in a hood shuffling around and muttering to himself. I was expecting so much more from this comic. I mean, like I said, Skeletor.
Yeah.
I loved Skeletor. I wanted it to be an interesting and fascinating look into one of my childhood villains, and it disappointed me. There were too many missed opportunities. I'm gonna be really harsh on this. I think mainly because I loved Skeletor so much, but I'm gonna bury it.
Oh, a berry.
A berry from me.
That is harsh. That is harsh. Look, I know what you're saying, but I disagree. I think there are things here that people are going to enjoy. There's something here for franchise fans.
Okay.
I think when Irving's, as we said, when his work's on, it looks really, really nice, and that's great. And I also like to see that Skeletor always had a bit of evil in him, even when he was a kid. So that was cool as well. I'm going to give this one a borrow. I think it's worth a look.
Okay.
Okay, lads and lasses, it is the first Ask Kapow for Season 3.
Yay!
I'm excited. We've got
very
3
excited.
questions to get to.
Yep.
Let's jump straight in.
Okay, our first question comes from Jonah Marinan, who has written in before, so thanks for writing
buddy.
again, Jonah, that's awesome. Now, he says, hey guys, my little sister asked me what kind of comics would be friendly to her. She's 10 and mostly into Disney. And he's
Fantastic.
hashtagged Ask Kapow.
Ooh, awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
All
make
right.
it a thing.
I've had so much fun looking into this. I love all ages, as we all know.
Yeah.
And so this was an awesome question for me to look at. Now, I've chosen 2 titles from kind of a mainstream realm and a few from lesser knowns. So we've got Spider-Man Loves Mary Jane, written by Sean McKean. It's a really cool, it's kind of focused towards more of the girls, and it's focused around Mary Jane, who of course is a big feature in Spider-Man.
Of course.
But it's her as a teenager growing up and kind of dealing with the trials and tribulations of being a teenage girl with your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man swinging around.
Sure.
It's really, really good fun, and it's a nice one to kind of get into Spider-Man world,
Yeah,
I think.
it's got a nice look to it as well. I think.
It does.
Yeah.
Okay, next we've got the Justice League Unlimited from DC. Now, we all love the JLA. It's got
course.
some amazing characters involved, and this is a really good one to kind of start off, because eventually, she's gonna grow up.
Yeah.
And this is a nice introduction to, characters like Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Black Canary, Green Arrow.
You want her
so
to have
many.
a chance to pick which one she wants to
She
continue
wants to
reading
read
the singles for.
Yeah. And Cartoon Network did do a cartoon tie-in as well. So, watch the cartoon, read the comic. Perfect.
Both at the same time.
Both at the same time.
Go crazy. Yeah.
Next, we have one of my personal favourites.
I knew we'd get to this.
Takio! Just because,
Yeah.
from season 2, we had a look at this, and
Yeah.
I love saying Takio, Takio,
Yeah.
Takio, Takio.
It's the book that's as much fun to say as it is to read. So
Absolutely.
check out the review in the
Absolutely.
last season.
So,
Yeah.
2 girls, superpowers, fighting crime,
Yeah.
being awesome. What's not to love?
There's nothing that you won't
It's
love.
such a cool book.
Anybody can read that. It's not strictly a
No,
younger
anyone
reader.
can.
That's all.
Yep.
That's truly all ages.
All ages.
Yeah.
Next is Tom Taylor's The Deep. If your sister loves Disney, she is going to love The Deep. It's a
got the
very
same sort of
similar
look.
kind of feel.
Yeah.
And, it's all set on Earth. It's all kind of,
Which is
science
great for-
fiction,
it's
but
great for a
under the
sci-fi.
water. So it's kind of cool. And there's one of my favourites, which I had to throw in, called Mouse Guard. I love Mouse Guard. I
Yeah.
think it's amazing.
Gotta
It's
love
written
Mouse
by
Guard.
David Peterson, and it is just awesome. So get her into that one.
Yeah.
Now, there was another one that I found during my research. I'm just going to throw in
Come on,
there.
come on.
I know. It's from
We've got
Top
other people
Shelf.
to get to.
It's from Top Shelf. It's not released yet, but it looks amazing. It's called Maddie Kettle, The Adventures of the Thumble Witch, and it's written by Eric Orchard. It's so cool. Here's the synopsis. Listening? Okay. Maddie is an 11-year-old girl with a pet toad named Ralph. And they're on a rather big adventure right now, as her parents are currently kangaroo rats. Amazing!
Right.
Apparently she battles spider goblins, she befriends cloud mappers. I don't know what a cloud mapper is, but I want to know. So like I said, it's not out yet, but keep checking Top Shelf's website and they'll obviously let you know when it is available.
Fantastic. Okay, so our next question is from Reagan, who again has written in before, so thanks for that. Now the question is, being fairly new to comics and having a low budget can make the world of comics overwhelming. Any tips on how to deal with that?
It's an awesome question.
It's a very good question. A
Great
lot of
question.
people in that situation. So the first thing that you need to look at is deciding what you want to be reading. Because you obviously don't have the budget to buy everything that comes out, so you got to know, you got to be selective. Now, there's a few ways you can do your research. First thing I would say, check out things like Free Comic Book Day, because then you
Great
just get
events.
stuff for free.
Yep.
So that's always good. Good thing on a budget. Next, befriend some people who have comics.
Yeah.
If you don't already have friends who have comics, find them. Wander around, find them, because that's a great way to check out some of their collection
Absolutely.
and see what you might like yourself. Also, there's sites like Comixology.com where you can view and read issue ones, previews, things like that for free without having to purchase. So that's another great way to do your research.
Good way to kind of introduce yourself to some new characters and some new stories as well.
Now, you can purchase online as well, which can be a cheaper option, but honestly, I've got to have the comic.
have the book.
It's just how I am. Now, once you actually get into the comic book store, there's a few options there. Bargain bins.
Absolute gold mines.
Might
Amazing.
be a tear on one page that's going to drop it by $5, so that's a good thing to check out as well. Back issues are another great
Always
thing.
good.
You get a few cheap ones there. So that's all great. And finally, trades.
Yes.
Trades are your friend. I know there's a higher initial outlay in terms of what you're spending, but you get a full arc, and it's a great way to get a story that you check out what you want from the future. So.
Absolutely.
Let's see if, apart from that, there's one final thing more important than any other,
Really?
I think, is that every week you've got to set aside a half hour to watch Kapow. Because we will tell
Shameless
you...
self-promotion, I'm telling you.
Had to do it. I'm sorry.
All right, our third question tonight comes from Wiki84. Wiki asks, will you review the My Little Pony comics coming out this month? Now, honestly, Wiki, I love My Little Ponies.
Sure.
I always have, child of the 80s as I was.
Yes, indeed.
So if enough of you want us to check it out, we will.
Yeah.
Let us know if you want us to have a look at My Little Ponies, because I'm happy to.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I'll get into that too.
Awesome. That's it. Our 3 questions from Ask Kapow. Amazing. Now, we did have a competition running.
Yes, we did.
Yes, and our winner is Jonah Marinan.
Hey.
Yay! So we'll be sending out your prize. Get in contact with us via Facebook or Twitter, mainly because, you're getting your sister involved. So
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
We like that.
You're recruiting. That's what we like to see.
Yeah.
All right, now when you were a kid, or you know what, for that matter, last time you were down the pub works as well, you may well have gotten into one of those my superhero can beat up your superhero conversations.
Yeah, it's why we like crossovers, I think, so much. You get that opportunity to see your hero and your friend's hero kind of battle it out.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the reasons why AVX was really popular.
Absolutely, it's that whole kind of thing. And that's possibly why Cullen Bunn wrote Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe.
Except, as the title states, Deadpool doesn't fight those of the Marvel stable, he kills them.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is exactly what
why
I liked
hated
about this comic.
Oh dear.
This could be interesting.
Yeah. You go first.
Okay, so this comic, as I see it, is kind of a deconstruction of the whole superhero genre. You have Deadpool, who quite often breaks the fourth wall, and generally it's fairly light and very funny. This takes it in a dark, disturbing kind of way. Once Psycho Man, incidentally, great name, kind of breaks Deadpool's brain in an attempt to enslave him, he almost has the opposite effect and kind of releases Deadpool. And he goes on this murderous rampage, killing off heroes and villains alike in a way that he kind of sees it as releasing them from the chains of slavery that comic writers and comic readers have kind of put them in.
Well, so far we agree.
Excellent.
Yeah, pretty much. But I've got to say here that there is a difference between breaking the fourth wall and taking a concept and shoving it up its own butt. And I honestly think this comic is doing the latter of those two things.
Okay.
Yes, I understand that they're thumbing their nose at conventions by having Deadpool kill off all of these superheroes and supervillains through a series of cheap tricks and sneaky loopholes. But does that make for a good comic?
I think it made for a very entertaining and interesting concept.
Well, yeah, for a conversation maybe, but not for a comic. Okay, look, I understand that sometimes it can get a bit formulaic. We see all these face-offs that end with miraculous escapes through clones or wormholes or...
Resurrections!
So many resurrections.
You get a resurrection. You get a resurrection.
Everybody gets a resurrection. I understand that can become formulaic.
Yes.
I do. But you might as well ask, why does the Joker keep escaping from Arkham? Because if he didn't, the story's over, and who wants that?
Yeah, okay, I understand that, but that's why this is a standalone and kind of, outside.
It's a what if.
It's a what if,
Yeah.
exactly. It's outside that canon. I got to admit, I'm one of those disturbed individuals that will occasionally read comic books and go, well, why didn't you just shoot him when you had the chance? And that is what this comic book entertains.
Well, yeah, but in the cheapest way possible.
Absolutely.
It overturns those formula by applying its own formula. Basically, that Deadpool will get torn into little bits, then regenerate seconds later and cut someone's head off. Lather, rinse, repeat. And that's in those few occasions in here where he actually has a fight. Most of the fights happen off-panel. We just see the dead bodies lying around afterwards, and that is just boring and frustrating at the same time.
I completely disagree. I'm sorry, but I do. I loved the way that Wade kind of found these sneaky and underhanded ways to take out some of the massive Marvel names without, breaking a sweat.
Once again, how does that make for a good comic? You've got to answer that for me. You get this many Marvel names together and kill them off without a fight? tedious. And added to which, the art wasn't even worth that much in this either.
Okay, I'll concede a little bit on that one. Yes, the art is not top shelf in this. Dalibor Talajic kind of spends too much time on the extreme close-up on people's faces, but on the flip side, that's where we get a lot of our emotional contact with this book.
Yeah.
I also think some of his compositions and some of the views from the frames were really interesting. Plus, I'd like to add, Lee Lockridge does an amazing job on colours in this. He kind of creates a little palette for every single one of the heroes or the villains that comes up with a very short period of time to do it.
And a good thing too, because God knows there's nothing about the characters in the story. Honestly, the plot of this just plays out like a slideshow. There's no through line. It's just completely sporadic and pointless. You know that pub conversation that I mentioned at the start?
Yes.
This whole thing could have been plotted during that pub conversation, probably while drunk.
This book really did rub you up the wrong way, didn't it?
Look, honestly, when I finished reading it, I was thinking of giving it a burn.
Wow.
I was. I got very little from this, if anything.
Yeah.
But obviously some people are going to get something from it. I didn't. But there was no character development, there was no motivation for anybody apart from the first couple of pages. After that, it fell by the wayside. He's killing people. That's pretty much all you need to know. I didn't think there was anything really here that would warrant a decent read. I'm going to give this one a bury.
Okay, well, for me, why do we need character development or motivation for these characters? We know who they are. They're the biggest names in Marvel. It's not the point, and I think it would have kind of been a bit of a waste of time, personally. Look, this book does exactly what it states. Deadpool kills everyone. And I don't know, like I said, I'm one of those disturbed individuals, but I got a really dark chuckle out of some of the really brutal kills that Deadpool kind of kicks out. They're pretty, I found them hilarious. Yeah. Look, I'm not saying it's groundbreaking. I'm not saying that it's genre defining. I'm not even saying that it's for everyone, but for me, I found it amusing. The art was, honestly, if it was a little bit stronger and the ending was a little bit tighter, I probably would have given this one a buy. But as it stands, I'm going to give it a borrow. Look, check it out. I found it hilarious. Shush.
It's bad.
It's not. It's not. So, Ray, tell us about this anime, because I had not heard of this before.
Right, well, I hadn't heard of it before either. It's called Towa no Quon. Now, it's made in 2011, and it's a Japanese animated supernatural film series consisting of 6 films. It's set in a futuristic Tokyo where unique human beings who have awakened distinct powers are being hunted by a secret organization named Custos. Known as Attractors, these exceptional humans are joining forces to defend themselves. They are led by a boy named Quon, or Quon, an idealist who is determined to save all the Attractors he can. It was directed by Yumanosuke Leader, also known as Tsutomu Leader. Leader sadly passed away in 2010. Now, for those of you who don't know, he had a huge career in anime, spanning over 20 years with titles such as Devilman, Mobile Suit Gundam, Hellsing, and Tideline Blue, just to name a few under his belt. Now, the animation studio behind Towa no Quon is called Bones. These guys were established, founded in 1998, but even in the last decade, they've got a huge amount of titles under their umbrella. They're very reputable. I won't go through all of them, but if you are interested and want to check out something, maybe a bit stuck for something to watch, look up these guys, have a look at their list, and pull out a few titles because they got more than enough to choose from. Yeah.
Cool. So what did you think of this animation though, Ray?
Oh, well, I thought it was actually pretty good. It's a blend of CGI and 2D animation. Now, there's lots of good ideas going into the choreography, which I think is a great credit to Leader and his art direction. Some of the character powers are cool. Yuri's super speed, Kiri's healing voice, Takao's teleportation. Look, they're nothing new, but what I like is that they're not amazing superheroes. These guys are rather normal people with just a single ability, and often they need to work together to overcome their foe.
I like some of the other characters as well. The telepathic Tay, she's just absolutely lovely.
She is.
And Mew, who can communicate to animals, just too cute for words.
Yeah.
Just too cute.
Well, yeah, it's not that the characters aren't interesting as much as I thought that some of them lacked a little luster design-wise. Well, that's just my opinion, but even our main man, Quon, is nothing like an Edward from Full Metal Alchemist, for example. There's nothing really striking about him, and his alternate being once awakened, well, kind of looks like a strange sea creature to me. I mean, it's amazing what he can do to, manipulate water and metal and even regenerate, but at times I felt it a bit hard to take him seriously as a, awesome, cool hero. But, who's to say that they can't break the mold,
Why
right?
not? Yeah. I think the animation of the city was really lovely as well, especially down by the river with the cherry blossoms. And it's a thing with me, animated water needs to look good. If it looks bad, it's just really awful. But in this, it's really beautiful. I thought all of those scenes down there were really lovely.
Yeah.
When you went into kind of the city proper, it got a bit confusing. Geography-wise, I was a bit kind of, this doesn't make sense. It still looked good though.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's odd, this world that they've created. The whole thing feels very X-Men to me, actually. The attractors or mutants being hunted by other super beings who are very robot-like. I feel like the safe haven these attractors set up for themselves, the Phantasium Garden on the other hand, is reminiscent of some kind of Eden, which is very nice and comforting.
Yeah.
And this area seems to be open to the public too, but there is some kind of ward that prevents these Kustos from detecting these attractors there when they are there, seeking refuge. But I didn't know about any of this until partway through the second film, which kind of leads me to my next point about exposition. Now, I know they're trying to integrate it into the story gradually, but it just feels a little fragmented to me. And, it felt a bit frustrating. I understand it's 6 films and they're trying to tell the one whole story, but I don't know, it feels like they're stretching out all this information and then drip feeding it in at various points to make it feel like revelatory plot points, but they're not. There's just information that you've been waiting for, you've been thirsting for the whole time. So you can find yourself being a bit perplexed early on.
Yeah, it can be a little frustrating.
Yeah.
Did you see the original version or did you see the dubbed version?
I saw the original for the whole 6 and then went back and saw the dubbed first film, and I've got to say that it's very good. It's one of the better dubbed versions out there. So if that's the way you like to watch your anime, then you're not going to be disappointed. There's rich characterization and good depth and range of voice across both. So take your pick.
Yeah, cool. So what did you think overall of the whole thing?
Well, look, I thought it was enjoyable to sit through. It's very interesting. One of the greatest things is the mystery of it. Even though there's lagging plot points, maybe they kind of add to that mystery element as well. But finding out about these organizations, how long that they've been at war together, and these guys called the Others, this 100 kings who, how do they integrate into the society and rule over the Kustos, and also the characters as well. Like Quon has a very interesting story that's slowly unfolds, and that kind of adds to the intrigue, and it permeates just a greater sense of interest and excitement across the thing. Plus, what I really liked about it was the action, and that's something that I always, it's a must-have from me in any anime. There's some really neat ideas produced, and the battles are never the same. It's quick, and it's smooth, and inventive. Overall, though, I'd have liked it to have been a little bit tighter, and I mean editing-wise, it could have been 5 films instead of 6 films. Sometimes the information is repeated unnecessarily, like the Kustos preparing for battle. Other times we're even thrust into a scene with a completely different character, right? Which is fine, but it has no clear link between the two. It's on a completely different tangent and story, and it has, not much to do with, the films that preceded it. So that can sometimes feel a little irrelevant. On the other hand, some of these interesting threads that are feeding in, they build to quite a climactic and satisfying conclusion. But, it's not enough to push me over the edge, I really enjoyed films 3 and 6. Okay. But, I'm going to have to step back and give this one a borrow.
Nice. I did enjoy it as well. Overall, I thought it was really quite interesting. I loved the attractors. I always find that kind of thing quite interesting.
Yeah.
And like you said, the conspiracy that kind of runs through, and who are those guys? And how are they connected to those guys? I love that kind of stuff. I like wrapping my head around that. The animation I thought was really lovely. Like I said, the water was beautiful. The characters I thought were really lovely. Yes, they were quite stereotypical sometimes, but it didn't bother me quite so much. I think because I got involved with them a little bit, so that was pretty cool. I like the fact that you can sit and watch the whole lot if you want. A day sitting watching anime, amazing. Or you can spread it over a few weeks and kind of see one a week and drip feed it. But the same kind of things annoyed me as well. Sometimes it felt a little disjointed. Sometimes it felt a little, irrelevant, some of the information. So, like you, I'm going to give this one a borrow. It's definitely worthwhile a check out if you like this kind of thing. But, it wasn't quite
Didn't quite get there.
Didn't quite get there, but
Yeah.
that's cool anyway.
Like my horse at the Melbourne Cup. Didn't
Quite get there. Sorry, Ray.
It's alright. I can still eat.
The word Bedlam, meaning chaos and disorder, comes from the name of a mental hospital in England, the Bedlam Royal Hospital, where in the 18th century the nobility would regularly pay decent amounts of money to go in, wander around the asylum, and look at the lunatics for the purposes of entertainment.
Yeah, so Bedlam is quite an apt title for Nick Spencer's new ongoing series for Image, seeing as how one of the central themes is madness as entertainment. Now, the madness in this takes form of a serial killer called Red, who is very, very mad.
And very, very entertaining.
Yeah, well,
I've got to say, I feel it's a bit horrific to say, given that this comic starts off with an auditorium full of people that he's slaughtered. But Madder Red is very charismatic and weirdly endearing.
Yeah, I also found him incredibly terrifying, but also, yes, quite entertaining.
It's the way he talks more than anything else, I think, you know. And I will tell people here, this is a very dialogue-heavy comic.
It is.
There's a lot of talking.
There is.
Red will go on at length about anything that comes across his mind, but it's always either funny or thought-provoking. He's like the Stephen Fry of multiple murderers.
It's an interesting comparison. I'm not sure how Mr. Fry would like that, but you know, still, I think the comparison that most people probably get though is to the Joker.
Yeah.
You know, his flamboyance, his kind of grand theatrical escapades, right down to trademark goons.
Yeah.
He also has a superhero nemesis.
Yeah, and I can see the character similarity.
Yeah.
I do know what you're saying. They do play with that Batman Joker paradigm early on with his nemesis, the First, who is only actually named once. Or referred to once in the whole comic, and only really shows up for a very short period of
He
time.
disappears quite quickly.
And that's a really intelligent way that Spencer's gone with this. Is that if this was just another supervillain face-off, then yeah, Madder Red could very well seem to be just a very well-written rip-off. But there's more to this story.
There certainly is. All this murder and mayhem and craziness has actually happened in the past. We're shown it in these kind of stark flashback scenes of black, white, and red. It's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah.
Madder Red has actually now been rehabilitated. How that's happened, well, we don't really quite know. All we know that it's got something to do with a kind of creepy character called the Good Doctor.
Yeah, and neither do we know why anybody would actually take the risk of trying to flip off the evil switch in a man who has killed over 2,000 people. He gets up very early in the morning,
does.
this guy. He's got a lot to do. But honestly, I had more questions when I finished this comic than when I started reading it, and that can often be a bad thing. Here it's a very good thing.
Yeah, it's a very, very good thing, I think. And I think it's a testament to Spencer's writing. Yes, like we said, it's very dialogue heavy, but I was pretty much hooked on every word. I was really intrigued by what the heck was going on.
Yeah.
Add to that Riley Rossmo's artwork. It's fantastic. In the flashback scenes, you've got these really stark black and white, and then the present days it's more textured, it's more complicated. You kind of get this really nice image of the two sides of Madder Red's psyche within the artwork, which I think was really nice.
I could not agree more. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Rossmo's work, have been since I read Cowboy Ninja Viking. And I mean, if that title's shown us anything, it's that this guy knows how to draw madness.
Yeah, which is a great thing, because that is essentially what this is all about. It's about madness. I was a little concerned in the early present day scenes that Madder Red had kind of just become this shuffling, lobotomized, not actually
He doesn't talk much or anything like that.
But as the book progresses, you kind of begin to realize that no, he's just as intelligent, just as witty, and just as insane as he was to begin with. It's just now he appears to have his evil cut out somehow.
But for how long?
Well, yes.
And I think that's the engine that's going to keep this title running. Certainly, I mean, how is a man that's this insane going to be able to stay on the side of the angels? And I think that question alone will keep me going for quite a while on this one. This is a really interesting new title, and I'm giving it an unequivocal buy. way.
Nice.
I was really impressed by this one. I'm definitely going to hang on to it. Even if you don't go a bundle on the long dialogue and the story doesn't get you, the artwork probably will. So give it a look. You'll not be disappointed.
Well, as you know, I kind of finished it and put it down and went, I'm not talking about this for about a day.
What did you think? Leave me alone.
Leave me alone. Don't talk to me. Because this book actually really did kind of creep me out. It unnerved me and made me feel a little unsafe. Kind of like I was prey. It's really disturbing. But am I going to keep reading it? Well, heck yeah, I'm going to keep reading it.
Cool.
I was so intrigued by Matter Red and by the Good Doctor and this kind of overarching conspiracy. Add to that, I loved Cowboy Ninja Viking as well, but I really think Rossmo has kind of hit a really nice stride in this, and I'm interested to see how it's going to develop on. It's definitely a buy from me as well, but be warned, you might get a case of the major heebie-jeebies at the end of it.
There's some to be had.
Yeah, yeah.
So, that is 3 books,
Yes.
an anime, and an Ask Kapow.
Whew.
That was a massive show.
Huge. I need a nap,
Yeah,
honestly.
our job here is done
Yes.
for this week.
For this week.
Next
yes.
week, a whole
it
different
starts
bunch
again.
of things.
Next week, we'll be looking at Freelancers from Boom Studios, as well as the graphic novel Black Lung.
There's probably a whole bunch of other stuff
So
as well
much other
that we
stuff,
won't
yep.
even tell you about
No,
right now.
it's just
but
too
it's,
much.
it's going to be great.
It will be.
Okay.
We'll see you next week, guys.
Bye.
Bye.